Hi, I am Carolina Miranda Cavalcante, professor at the Law School of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, where I teach political economy and institutional economics. My main research is on institutional economics, where I analyze the theoretical evolution and methodological distinctions between old and new institutional economics. More recently, I've been interested in institutional arrangements of the sharing economy, and today I'm going to present one piece of my research that is about the evolution of Douglas North thought. So this is the article I'm going to present, Douglas North Thought and Work. Actually, this article is in Portuguese, but I hope this presentation may give you an idea of the main issues discussed in the article. The purpose of this article is to analyze the evolution of Douglas North thought through 5 of his books. To accomplish this task, I chose 5 concepts most used by Douglas North. They are mental models, institutions, conception of state, economic history, and institutional change. Throughout Douglas North's work, mainly in these 5 books that I chose to analyze in this paper, we may see that Douglas North has changed or he has relaxed some neoclassical hypotheses, adding new issues to his institutional theory. Also, he has made an interdisciplinary movement trying to dialogue with other social sciences. It is more visible in his 2 last books analyzed in this paper, where he tries to build some connections between economic theory and cognitive science, and between economic theory and political science. In the remaining of this presentation, we'll see the place and the changes of each of these concepts in Douglas North thought. Let's first analyze the idea of mental models. Mental models are the cognitive dimension of individual action. And mental models appears in the conception of limited rationality, ideology, and beliefs. Rationality is central to Douglas North theory. For institutions to only exist in virtue of the limited rationality of individuals. According to North, in a world of individuals endowed with full rationality, institutions are useless. So, limited rational individuals make optimal calculus, although they may not be perfect and complete. And this is the first important modification that Douglas North made in neoclassical theory. He replaces the hypothesis of complete rationality to the hypothesis of limited rationality that he takes from Herbert Simon work. Ideology is another feature of human mind, is another kind of mental model. While rationality involves calculation, ideology involves judgments and conceptions about fairness in society. Ideology is not an irrational behavior, but it cannot be qualified either as rational behavior. It is a kind of non-rational behavior. The distinction between rationality and ideology is resumed in the Douglas North book of 2005. In this book, North talks about beliefs and its adherence to reality. Beliefs are made of rational beliefs and non-rational beliefs. So rational beliefs are those involved in economic calculation. This is the traditional limited rationality hypothesis. And non-rational beliefs are those involved in normative models, that is, ideologies. Mental models are those cognitive devices used by individuals to understand the world. In this sense, individuals perceive the world, form beliefs about this perceived reality, build institutions, devise policy, and then modify those beliefs according to their adherence to reality. If mental models are inside human mind, institutions are an external manifestation of the representation of reality embodied in beliefs. We saw that institutions just have a reason to exist in a world in which individuals have limited rationality. In this sense, institutions can be seen as a cognitive complement to this limited computational capacity of individuals. But institutions are not mere cognitive crutches. In North's work, we may find at least three functions to institutions. They can be constraints to human action, they may provide incentive structures to decision making process, or they can be the rules of the game. It's important to note that these institutional rules may be formal rules or informal rules. In the formal rule domain, we have laws, constitutions, and all the rules enforced by a third part, the state. Informal rules are made of cultural traits of a society and its traditions passed through time from one generation to another, with or without the state enforcing those rules. Second, one of North's most quoted definitions of institutions define them as rules of the game. And it's the definition that is down here in this presentation. In this last affirmative, where institutions are seen as rules of the game, we see a conception of society as a game and the individual as an agent that acts in a strategic environment. The third concept analyzed in this article is North's conception of state. A role for the state is present in all of these five books. But the author delivers a complete chapter on state only on his 1981 book. In the 1973 book, the state is seen as a provider of efficient institutional framework. In this book, North adopts an idea of allocative efficiency, a Pareto efficiency. In his 1981 book, the idea of allocative efficiency is replaced by an idea of adaptive efficiency. In this book, he also defines his conception of the state, understanding the state as an organization ruled by self-interested individuals that may eventually devise inefficient institutions. In his 1990 book and his two last books of the 2000s, North says that an agent that conducts the state, those agents are moved by ideologies, they build alliances, and may also devise inefficient institutional framework. In which concerns economic history, North traces a distinction between a discursive way of doing economic history, present in the analysis school, and a quantitative way of doing economic history, present in cliometrics. He claims that the possibility of hypothesis testing and forecasting of cliometrics makes it a more scientific way of understanding economies through time. similar claim is made by new institutionalists, all the new institutionalists, as Douglas North is a new institutionalist author. Well, similar claim is made by new institutionalists when they accuse the so-called old institutional economics of not having a theory at all. North inherited many neoclassical ideas and also inherited the neoclassical way of defining what is a scientific theory and what is not a scientific theory. It is not the objective of this article to discuss these methodological issues in institutionalist thought, but it's important to note here that Douglas North's idea of institutional change is quite different from the idea of institutional evolution developed within Veblennian institutionalism. And institutional change is the next concept that we'll see in this presentation. Then we got to the last concept analyzed in the article, where you see the idea of institutional change and how it connects to economic growth. And here it's important to note that Douglas North does not talk about economic development, but he talks about economic growth, and there's a difference between these two conceptions of economic performance. We'll not develop this distinction here, but it's important to have in mind that economic growth is different from economic development. In the 1973 book, the argument is very straightforward. Efficient organizations develop efficient property rights that leads to economic growth. In this vision of economic dynamics, the state is a single ruler that simply makes it happen, that divides efficient institutions that leads to economic growth. In his 1981 book, North recognizes that growth may bring some instability to the state. For growth changes relative prices that may change agents' payoffs. So it may be profitable to invest in changing the rules of the game instead of following them, or even to invest in moving to other states, of course, for agents that have the power to do that. In the 1990 book is the most complete collection of Douglas North theories and conceptions. He puts all the pieces together. Of course, Douglas North does not stop thinking about institutions or modifying his theory of economic institutions, but this 1990 book puts all the pieces together and gives a complete framework of Douglas North thought. Here we find the most major theory of institutional change. Important concepts to this theory are that of path dependence and institutional equilibrium. North also put more emphasis on the problems of coordination and cooperation within a strategic environment. In this more refined theory of institutional change, individuals and organizations within the state with power to modify formal rules are going to have an important role in devising the institutional framework. This institutional framework, enforced by the state, will provide an incentive structure in which individuals and organizations are going to make decisions. And these economic agents, those individuals and organizations that are going to make choices within the institutional framework may have agents with power to change these rules of the game, or individuals that simply does not have another option than to follow those rules. The decisions economic agents make may lead to an economic environment friendly to productive activities or not. This will explain the economic performance, or this will explain economic growth in Douglas North thought. Well, last but not least, learning is an important device to economic performance. It's an important element that explains economic growth in North theory. Um, Learning is directly related to human capital. And Douglas North talks about learning and human capital in his earlier books, but it is more explored and developed in his 2005 book, where Douglas North is really inside the individual mind. He is really studying how cognitive science can help economic theory to understand this individual, to understand how individuals form their beliefs and then act and make decisions in society. So we reached the end of this presentation. I hope you could have had an idea of the main issues that I developed in the article. Of course, the article brings a more detailed discussion about Douglas North thought. The full article is available at my website. The address is down here. Also, I put down here my email addresses, and I'll be glad to hear from you comments and critics about the article and about the visions presented in this video. Thanks for watching. Till the next time.